Hi, book besties. Welcome back and Happy New Year. And for those that are new here, I'm Jess, and I'm mostly here to talk about books, but not that seriously because I'm not that good at it, honestly. Okay, so today I want to go through my January TBR list. So it's already January 6th by the time I'm making this video. So I've actually already read a book. But we're going to talk about it anyway. And we're going to discuss what I plan to read for the rest of the month because I'm a firm believer of starting off the year strong. Like, if you want a really strong year, you should start your year off like 5-star read. Here's the problem. I don't actually look into the books I read before I read them. People will like look into the title, look into the author, look into like what the book's about. Not me. I'm handed a book to read by book club or maybe one quote from TikTok and I'm like, okay, sold. I'm reading it. Or it's an auto author for me and I'm just like, I'm not going to look into what this book's about. You wrote it. I'm reading it. It could be your dang grocery list and I'm ready for it. So I go into every single book blind and I've happened to luck out that last year I started off with 2 5-star reads. This year so far, I've started off with a 5-star read and my month for January is already like packed with what I think is going to be 5-star reads just based off what people have told me and blind trust. So, for starters, my very first book of this year so far has been Seventh Circle by Tate James. This is going to be a why choose like mafia style romance. It is 4 books, I believe. We started reading it for book club. So the After Dark book club, we choose a theme each month. And January is Bad Bitch January because, again, firm believer starting off your year strong, it's going to set the tone for the entire year. And this year is our year. Okay, we are chef's kiss. Like, we are killing it this year. So, very first book, even though it was a series, we decided to go with Seventh Circle. We love the book so much that we are actually reading Anarchy, which is going to be the second book in the series for this week's read. It has been a long time, like a long time that I've picked up a book and devoured it as fast as I did, but was genuinely surprised by it. Like, the twists and the turns I did not see coming. I'm falling in love with the characters the way I haven't in a really, really long time. Hayden, or Hades, she's known as Hades, is running this like tri-state area. She basically is like the leader of all leaders. She runs a couple different gangs are like underneath her, and they all report to her. She has different clubs. I don't know. She's just a baddie. Well, she ends up meeting a guy like right off the bat. Like, the story begins, she meets a guy named Lucas at the club right after she had just like put herself out there to like another gang leader that she's really been crushing on for like, I don't know how long. But there's an 11-year age gap. He looks at her and was like, I don't mess with children, and like shut her down. She's 23 years old. She's like, what the heck? So she goes out to one of her clubs. She's hanging out there. Guy walks up to her. His name's Lucas. They end up hitting it off. They end up being together. And so like that's how the book starts. So you already know it's a why choose, right? So you already know she's got a crush on this other guy. His name's Cass. Lucas comes into the picture and like all this drama is already starting to go down. So ate that up. So my TBR for January is to read the other 3. So I'm going to read Anarchy this week for book club. Very excited. The book, Seventh Circle, ended on a cliffhanger. So like ready to devour the next one. My next book that I'm currently listening to, so it's on my TBR, The Proposal Play by Lauren Blakely. So if you know me, I love hockey romances. I'm pretty sure I read like 25 of them last year, and that is not going to stop all of a sudden. It's like my go-to sports romance. Like, basketball's fine, football's fine, that's all good. But like hockey for me is it. Like, chef's kiss. So listening to that as like an audiobook, it's an arc. I got an arc for it. And I believe it comes out on Wednesday. So today's the 6th that I'm recording. It will be out by the 8th. Already loving it. I have already listened. I started it yesterday, already 4 hours into it. It is longer. I think page-wise, it's 580 pages. I get scared by longer books like that. Like, my brain's always like on to the next thing. So longer books like that, I typically love to do as an audiobook instead because I just don't notice how long it is. But I'm eating it up. It is my first friends to lovers book that I genuinely love that trope. I don't hate the trope, but I typically go for more enemies to lovers or just strangers to lovers, something more like that. But they are best friends and have been best friends for 10 years. I think the only other friends to lovers book that I genuinely really did like was A Long Time Coming by Megan Quinn. But I still think this one is like, I don't know, like it's like really hitting for me. They end up going to Vegas and get married on a whim as like a little dare, a little adventure thing that they do. And now he's saying things like my wife. And I just, oh my gosh, yep, that's a microtrope I will never get over. Okay, next on my TBR is leave me alone. Okay, is Madness by Chantal Tessier. So I love the Lord series. This is actually the 5th book in, well, maybe the 6th if you count Sabotage, in the Lord series that I've read them all, and I normally devour them so fast. But for some reason, I am dragging my feet on Madness. So Madness is 800 pages long. It did come out in August. My full plan was as soon as it was released, I was going to read Hayden's book. I was very excited for Hayden's book. But at the time I was just really, really busy. August was kind of a rough month for me. So I ended up waiting until end of October to start Madness. And at that time I had already had the After Dark book club up and running. And so we pick a new book every single week. So every time I would go to read Madness, then it was like, oh, well, I have to read my book club book. And so I'd kick that off and keep that off. And eventually it got to a point where I just wasn't reading it anymore. And then the audiobook dropped. And for me, I was like, okay, I need that immediately because, again, when I struggle with longer books, if I have it as an audiobook, I don't notice how long it is. I like put a little more dedication to it. So in December, I started the audiobook for that. I still have 5 hours left. Again, it ends up being the fastest one I kick to the curb, and not because I don't like it. I really do enjoy it. I haven't had the time to dedicate to it. So my goal is to be done that book, hopefully, knock on wood, by mid next week. Like I'm at a point where like I'm audio booking it up. I'm re-inspired by my reading. Like all my books right now are 5 stars. So I'm in it and I'm going to hold myself accountable. So Madness is getting finished this month. I'm also in the middle of Binding 13. So that's as an audiobook as well for me. So I really want to finish that up. I think I have 6 hours for that. So it's going to be like finish the proposal play, finish Madness, then I'm going to finish Binding 13. And then I guess maybe if I get right into it, then I would read the next one. I don't know. Taking 13? I probably made that up. What do we think the next one after Binding 13 is? It's the Boys of Tommen series. Keeping 13. What did I say? Taking 13? I wasn't too off. It looks like there's 5 of them. All right, y'all need to calm down. Okay, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I guess it's Binding 13, Keeping 13, Saving 6, Redeeming 6, and then Taming 7. But my guess is Binding 13 and Keeping 13 are about the same guy, and then Saving 6 and Redeeming 6 is about another couple. Don't quote me on that, but my guess, they play rugby. Is that it? Probably not. I don't know what sport they play, but I'm guessing these numbers are their jersey numbers. So I'm telling you Claiming 10, Taming 7. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to try to do Binding 13 and maybe Keeping 13, but we'll see because like I'm kind of in like a dark romance phase right now. I normally am for January and February. It's just that time of the year. It's cold, it's dark. Like, let's just like lean into that. And the Boys of Tommen series is like young adult. At least I believe so because they're kids. Like they're in high school. I want to read or listen to Phantasma. Is that what it is? Phantasma. That's it. It looks like Wicked Games #1. So this one, Michelle, my girl, she listened to it as an audiobook and said it was fantastic. And I heard that it's like, I don't know, maybe won an award for it or something like that. So I definitely have that on my list of things that I want to listen to this month. And I don't think that's unrealistic. Okay, and then as far as reading, oh my gosh, guys, I started a book today. I cannot wait to keep you posted. I'm 85 pages in. It is called Broken Princess by Laura Bennett. And Laura reached out to me and asked me if I'd read her book. And I was like, hell yeah, girlfriend, let's go. What's it about? And she says it's a Why Choose Mafia romance. And I was like, say less. And then that was a couple months ago. She asked for January if I would read her book. And I actually forgot it was a Why Choose until we were talking about it yesterday. And I was like, I just got even more excited again now that I remember it's a Why Choose. So like I said, I'm reading, it's called the Hades series. So Seventh Circle by Tate James. I'm into Anarchy. Like I said, it had been a while since I read a book and I'm just like eating it up. Well, now I'm also reading Broken Princess at the same time. And like, if I ever make one of those videos, like if you like this one, read this one, these two are going to be like totally in the same package, along with my favorite Why Choose, which is the Kings of Bolton series by K.G. Reese. So the three of these books right now are becoming my top favorite Why Chooses I've ever read. Broken Princess is a duet, I believe. Let me pull it up. It's either a duet or it's going to be a trilogy. Oh, it's part of the Bianchi Chronicles. Basically, long story short, her father had her marry the rival gang's son to make sure that they were in the same city and they kind of cooperated together, because there was a lot of like rivalry things going on. So they're like, well, if we marry our kids together, we have a connection. We can use the town together and not have so many problems. So the two of them get married. Well, I guess as soon as she gets married to him, he turns out to be an absolute monster. So he just horrible things to her for years, and no one knows what's going on. So the prologue opens up with her opening one of her eyes, because the other one's like busted shut. The other one's barely busted shut, opening her eyes to see her husband is there again. Like he obviously hurt her. She's tied up and has somebody like hanging from the ceiling that he's just beaten up really bad. And so she's cussing him out. She doesn't know who's hanging. And it literally starts with the person hanging kind of turns, and it's her dad. And so now her husband has officially declared war again, even though they were married off, by unaliving her dad, and then goes to unalive her. And so that's a prologue. That's how it starts. It is wild right off the bat. The husband, calls up what is the cleanup crew, and the cleanup crew is 4 guys that used to work solely for her and her dad, but when they kind of got married, they now do cleanup jobs for both. And so her husband called them up to come clean this up and made it so that way neither her father nor her were recognizable, thought they were both unalived. Says come clean them up. So they don't know it's the dad. They take care of him, but then they see that the girl on the floor is still breathing. And they recognize it's her, and they're like, oh my gosh, our girl, Aurora. Like, what happened to you? And so now they have to take her back and, take care of her. And so that's how this starts. And that's what I read this morning. And I'm already like mind blown. So like, I'm definitely going to read Broken Princess, and then the next book in the series that is available, let's see what it's called, Brutal Queen. So pumped for that. So basically, long story short, that's a lot of books, I feel like. And then if I get to it, then I want to continue reading the Devil's Night series or listening to it as an audiobook, as a reread. So my next one's going to be Hideaway. But yeah, aside from that, I think I have another book that I'm going to read, but I'm blanking on the name right now. So that's a good amount of books. So long story short, it's Madness, Anarchy, and the 2 books after that, Broken Princess, Brutal Queen, Binding 13, Keeping 13. What else did I say? Do we know? I don't even know. Oh, Phantasma. So that's 9 books that I still have to read, including the one that I've already read, and then the one I'm blanking on the name right now. So the list is long, but I gotta get through it somehow. Otherwise, this TBR list is never gonna end, which is fine. I'm okay with that. But my gosh, I gotta at least make a dent in it. So yeah, let me know below in the comments what your January TBRs are looking like, and how's it going so far, what your first read of the year has been, and how that is kind of setting the tone for the rest of your year. And I'll see you guys next time.